Hey everyone, it's Joy here for Honeybee Stamps. I have two cards today showing how I used sentiments to make a background stamp with embossing powder and ink blending. So I'm going to start with my first piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to start with some ink blending. And I'm going to do the same color of ink blending for both cards. I'm using Wilted Violet, Scattered Straw, Spiced Marmalade, and Crushed Olive. And so what I wanted for the background is to have a bunch of sentiments or text across this whole background. So I'm using clear embossing powder, and I'm going to show you how I'm using that two different ways. And I'm going to be using a large or an A2 cover plate die, the Autumn Splendor cover plate die. So the two ways that I'm going to be doing this embossing with my inked backgrounds is this first one of doing the inking first. I did this one first because I want to set it aside and let it dry. So again, the colors for this is the Wilted Violet. Then I'm using Spiced Marmalade, Scattered Straw, and then Crushed Olive to get a really nice, good autumn, fall feel for these cards. I am going to flip the colors so each card has the same colors, but it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to finish inking this up, and I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then we're going to start on the next card panel. This card panel, I actually want to put all of the sentiments down first. Now this is the Inside Thankful sentiments. This is full of tons of great sentiments that's talking about being thankful. Like, I'm so thankful for you. Thank you for your kindness. Just tons of stuff like that. And I'm actually just kind of putting it in order of how I'm taking it off of the plastic sheet from the packaging that it comes in. I'm going to line this up in my MISTI. I'm using some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I'm going to line all of these up and then just close my MISTI lid to adhere those to the top. I am prepping my background, and I kind of dump it out of my thing and use a paintbrush because, and I usually end up getting too much, but it's a big area, and so I just find that that can spread that powder faster. I'm using Versamark ink to ink it up. And then, like I said, I'm going to be using clear embossing powder for both. Now on this one, you could use white embossing powder if you want, but the clear is just going to seal in your white background or your white cardstock. So I'm going to heat that until it's nice and melted and shiny. And this, you kind of have to look in the light to make sure everything is melted great. Now my other panel is dry, and I'm going to put that in my MISTI and make sure I prep this really well with my anti-powder or anti-static powder tool, and really make sure your ink is dry so you don't have little bits of embossing powder all over your background where you don't want it. I did not remove my sentiments from the lid of my MISTI. I kept them in the same spot so I can just put in this card panel and ink it up exactly the same, so all of the text will be the same for both, but the backgrounds will look a little bit different. Again, I'm going to sprinkle on the clear embossing powder and then heat that through until it's melted. This is going to make a really fun background. It's kind of unique too. So now that I'm going to take this background that we've already done the clear heat embossing on, and now we're going to ink this one up. I'm doing in the same order, other than I just flipped my cardstock around. So one of the panels will have the purple at the bottom, and this one will have the purple at the top. I'm going to ink blend all of those colors again. I just wanted to clean up my area before I flipped it around so I didn't get the purple in the crushed olive. Once this is done, I'm going to take a dry paper towel and very lightly just buff off the ink from the embossing powder. Now here is this beautiful Autumn Splendor A2 cover plate, and I'm going to line it up on my background panels, making sure it's kind of straight on the sides because you don't want your sentiments to be wonky or crooked. And then I'm going to tape that in place and run this through my die cut machine. And I ran it through a couple times. I kind of moved positions on it to make sure I got a good cut. I'm going to peel this back, and I'm just going to use a sharp tool to poke out all of the pieces that we don't need, which is going to reveal this beautiful background. Now this first one has the embossing powder that was done on top of the ink blending, and this one is the embossing powder that was done before the ink blending, and you can see how pretty and different they look. I'm going to adhere both of those to a white A2 size card base. So then you can see the white pop through and all of this ink blending is going to pop and the sentiments on the background. Now I'm using the Inside Thankful, or excuse me, the Bitty Buzzwords Fall Sentiment and the Thanks Buzzword die for both of those. And I'm going to die cut that out from some black cardstock twice because I want that to have some dimension, and I'm going to glue those together. And then I also cut out the shadow piece in white for both of these sentiments. Again, that's the Bitty Buzzwords Fall and the Thanks Buzzword. So here's the Thanks Buzzword, and then the other one is going to say Thankful, and that is from the Bitty Buzzwords Fall. So I'm gluing those two black pieces together because I want this to have dimension, and then I'm going to adhere that to the white shadow piece for the background. Then I'm going to stamp the sentiments using the coordinating Thanks Buzzword stamp set and the Bitty Buzzwords Fall stamp set. So for this first card, it says "You are the best," and I stamped that in the Wilted Violet ink. And I put some foam tape behind the Thanks sentiment to give that even more dimension. I am going to adhere the other sentiment directly to the card panel right underneath the word Thanks. I like to have dimension on my cards, so I really like to have my sentiments be popped up. So the next card is stamped in the crushed olive, and this is from the Bitty Buzzwords Fall, and it says "Thankful for You." And I'm going to do the same thing, adding some foam tape behind the Thankful sentiment, and then adhere the other sentiment directly underneath and directly to the background. Then I'm coming in with the Autumn Splendor sequence mix, and I'm just have a few of those scattered around using the liquid glue to adhere those down. And these have just a ton of fun, beautiful fall colors in this, so I think this is a great mix for this colored background. These cards are finished. They look beautiful. Here is the one with the clear embossing on the white cardstock, and then the other card is the clear embossing on the inked background. And you can see how different they look, but this is a super simple, beautiful design. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I will see you soon. Bye.